Here are 5 questions you must ask before using or choosing a hard money lender. Hey everyone, this is Mike Bond with Hard Money Mike. Today I wanted to go over the 5 questions you must ask before you do a flip or a burr or any kind of bridge loan or project that you have. So let's jump in. Number one are what are your total costs? Not just your interest, but what are the total costs? Some will charge a lower interest but have more fees like origination. A lot of investors or just borrowers focus with just the interest rate for hard money, but you have to look at all the fees that are included. What are their processing? What are their underwriting? Do they have appraisal fees? More importantly, do they have exit fees? When you pay off your loan, are they going to charge you for that? Because some lenders do. Or what are they charging you if you're doing a draw? If you have a fix and flip and you have escrow set up, what are they charging you to set up that escrow and even to get money out of your escrow account? And other junk fees that just pop up from credit to anything and everything that you're going to see. You need to know all of the costs for every lender. And here's just a simple example. Let's just say lender one has an interest rate of 10%, 2 points, they're charging 2% origination, and they have $1,000 for either processing docs, whatever it may be. But then you shop around and you find lender two has a 12% interest, but no origination points. Sounds better, and it could be. But diving in, you find out that there's approximately $4,000 in other fees, underwriting, appraisal, draw fees, exit fees, whatever they may be. So let's take a look at what those numbers will represent to you as far as costs over a 6-month term. Lender number one, remember, is charging you 10%, 2 points, and $1,000. So if we have a deal, let's just say the loan is 200 grand. And for that 200 grand, we're going to pay 2 points, 2% of that. So 2% of 200,000 is 4,000. That's the origination that would be paid at closing. And if we have a project that's going to last 6 months, we're going to pay interest for 6 months. At 10% over 6 months, you're going to pay $10,000. So now we have $4,000 plus the $10,000 in interest. Add in the $1,000 that they had for the processing, and we have a total of $15,000 that lender one's going to charge us. Now, lender two had 12%, but no points. So they don't have any origination. And interest over that 6 months is $12,000. So $12,000 compared to 10, we kind of knew the interest rate was or the interest costs were going to be higher. But we also have to add on their $4,000 in other fees that just pop up. So 12,000 plus their 4,000 equals 16 grand. So you're going to see here that 15 to 16, it looked like the one with no origination was going to cost less, but when they put in all their fees on their term letter, when they sneak them in, it's going to pop up. You want to make sure you're paying the least amount over the period in all costs. Interest is just one portion of that. We have a great tool at hardmoneymike.com, the loan cost optimizer. You could put in the project length, what each lender is doing, and it'll tell you what's the cheapest for your project. So check that out. So question number 2 we're going to ask is, how do they evaluate the loan to value? Are they using loan to value compared to ARV when they're calculating the amount of loan that they're going to give you? So in some cases, some lenders will just lend, it's kind of the old-fashioned way, based on the loan to value. So if you're buying a property, let's just say for $150,000, you're going to put $50,000 in repairs and it's going to be worth $300,000. So that's the after repair market. That's what you're either going to sell it for or it's going to appraise for if you're keeping it as a rental. Now you need to make sure you understand exactly how they calculate or what's the maximum loan that they'll give you, because some will base their loan on LTV. In this case, let's just say, in the extreme case, someone will just give you 75% of the purchase price because they're saying that's what the value is because that's what you bought it for. So they're going to give you 75% of the purchase price. So in that case, it's about $112,500. The common way to do this now is to base the loan off of the after repair value. Remember, in this case, we said that the after repair value is going to be $300,000. So most lenders will base it off of the after repair value. So let's just say a lender will give you 90% of the purchase, 100% of the rehab, as long as it's under 75% of the ARV. So in this case, they're going to give you $135,000 for the purchase, $50,000 for the rehab, and you're going to end up with $185,000. $185,000 compared to $112,500, You see the picture. One's going to give you more than the other. It may not be that extreme, but you do have to check around because lenders do lend off of different numbers, valuations, whatever it may be. So check your lenders and see what they base their loan off of when you shop around. If all of these little numbers and stuff are a little bit confusing, check out some of our other videos. We go over loan to value, ARV, things that you should know and know how to calculate as a real estate investor. Number three, we also want to talk to them about how do they calculate their valuation? Are they coming up with what the value is now and what it's going to be worth when it's fixed up? Are they doing that in-house with some AI program? Are they using an appraiser? How do they come across that? Because you want to make sure they are using real comps, real values in your neighborhood. You don't want to go to a lender that says, hey, I'm going to lend you maximum amount, even 100%, but their values are completely different than what the market shows. So here's an example. Let's just say you got one lender and they come back with a value of $300,000, which is exactly what you thought it would be. And then another lender who's a little more conservative, and we see this a lot, especially when we're working with some of the takeout loans with credit unions and stuff, that they come back and it says it's 250. They did some AI generated thing, and plus they have a comfort level, a buffer in there to knock it down a little bit because maybe they think the market is changing or whatever. So one lender comes up with 300,000, another lender comes up with 250, and that's what they're going to base their ARV, the value, off of. In this case, let's just say they lend up to a maximum of 75%. At 300,000, 75%, they could give you a loan up to $225,000. In real estate investing, leverage is king. You want to make sure you get as much leverage as possible. You want to make sure that they're valuing it at market. And now lender number two, who had a lower valuation, let's say $250,000, times that by 75%, and you're only at $187,500. You can see there's a big difference on the amount of loan that they're going to give you based on how they put valuation on the property once it's completed. So make sure you're asking clear, concise questions when you're talking to lender. How do they come up with value? What are they looking at? Can you supply comps? Can you, if it comes back with a value that's lower, can you dispute it? Can you go through it, walk them through it, why you think the value is there? Make sure that the lender that you're working with has your best interest in mind and is giving you the value that's going to make the project work. Question number 4 for when you're talking to hard money lenders is to make sure there is no either a prepayment penalty or a minimum interest guarantee. What this means is some lenders may say, we want 3 to 9 months of interest guaranteed. They say, we're not charging in points, but we want to make sure you have the loan out for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months and pay us interest. And then we'll give you this loan with no prepayment penalty or interest guarantee. So when you're talking to these lenders, make sure that they do not have an interest guarantee or prepayment period, or if they do, that it fits into your guidelines, into your timeline, the amount of time it's going to take from close to get it either refinanced or sold. Question number 5, which I think is one of the biggest ones, is how do your draws work? How do you operate or work with draws? Remember, when you close on a typical fix and flip loan or even maybe a BRRRR loan, there's going to be the purchase and then there's going to be amount set aside for draws, which they call escrow. So they're going to set aside, in this case, remember we're talking about that one property, that had $50,000 in repairs. That $50,000 is going to be put into escrow, and as work is done, you're going to get that in stages. The demo's done. Got in the rough ends, we got in drywall. They're going to come out in stages because remember what the lenders want, or they're basing your loan off of ARV, so that they want the property done. So they're going to give you the money as the property is done. So how does that work? What kind of fees do they charge you for setting up an escrow account? Some do, some don't. What's the process to get a draw? Do you have to get the work completed, signed off on by an inspector, lien waivers? What is it that you have to do to access those funds? Because you want to make sure you're accessing those funds as quick as possible, because the delays happen when you can't get access to the escrow fast enough to pay your contractors to make sure they stay on this project and not go to someone else's. So you want to make sure you understand how escrows work, how the draw processes work. Does someone have to come out and inspect the property? Do they do virtual inspections? Do they wire you the funds? Is it a 2-day process? Is it a week process, a 2-week process? You need to understand this information plus what they charge you every time you do a draw so you know all the expenses of your fix and flip or burr. Remember, speed is key in real estate investing. Speed to get the property done is critical, so draws are critical. So make sure when you're shopping around, number one, you use our loan cost optimizer. Go to our website, download that so you can, use that when you're shopping around to make sure you get the best deal for your property. Just make sure you're putting yourself in a great position. So when you're going out there shopping, make sure you find out the total cost of the project. What do they base their loan on? Loan to value, ARV. How do they actually get that valuation in-house? Or do they use appraisers? Can you dispute if they, can you actually give them other comps? Do they have prepayment penalties, and how do the draws work? You want to make sure you understand all of these facets to make sure your project is working, at the speed of real estate investing. So if there's anything else that you think you should go through or ask when you're talking to a hard money lender, just leave it in the comments and then we could add it to another video. Plus, don't forget to download the loan cost optimizer on hardmoneymike.com, and we'll catch you on the next video.